thing. I'm interested in culture, it's what I believe in. So, Matt very kindly stood up and said, yes, he would. Come and talk to us, hopefully, about how the Junction and Queen Edith can meld together for the future, is what we're hoping. So, over to Matt, who's this, I should say, Matt is the CEO of the Junction.
Yeah. Hi everyone. As Joe says, I'm CEO and Artistic Director, which is, for anybody who is interested in job titles, is an interesting combination of things to be. Sometimes there is a tension between being a chief exec and being an artistic director. A certain amount of organisational schizophrenia is present in my brain at all times. I haven't actually prepared anything for this. I wanted to speak from the heart, which sounds like I'm being a bit glib about these things, but I also felt if I can't talk about the Junction and its relationship with the community without having notes in front of me, I'm probably not doing my job very well. I've been in post now for 6 years, nearly 6 years. I started in April 2018. I'm not from the city. I don't live in the city. I live in Suffolk because I couldn't afford to live in the city, as people who are more recent arrivals in the city will understand. I do feel a very strong connection to the city though, actually. I think it's vital for anybody in a role like mine to try and understand the nature of the place, its environment, its psychogeography, and particularly for a cultural organisation, as Claire was sort of suggesting, its relationship with the people who are nearest to us, our local communities. I was going to ask first, do you all feel you know the Junction? I imagine a lot of you, you're all nodding. I think it's everybody nodding. Have you all been in the last year?
The last week.
In the last year. So you are, by our measures, you are super engaged audience members, which is fabulous. I think that probably means we are doing something right, if not everything. I have bought lots of print. I'm not going to go through the programme. I'm not going to tell you what to come and see. I'm not going to do a marketing job. I was just talking to one of your members just now. I'm sorry, we can introduce
Jane.
Jane, the thing that I hope we encourage people to be is really curious and confident in their curiosity. This is something that I've always thought about. Curiosity is so important to everything in our societies, in our communities. I think how we develop empathy for one another, how we have compassion for one another starts with curiosity. I think one of the ways we encourage people to be more curious and confident in their curiosity is by offering a lot of our arts programme on a pay what you feel basis. So you can come and see anything in our theatre and dance programme at least for the next few months from £2.50. So you can literally come and see everything in the season for less than the price of a ticket at the Arts Theatre, actually. And we're taking a risk on that. So we're not, when I say you can pay what you feel, we're not passing that risk on to the artists. We're paying the artists a guaranteed fee. So we will, they know that they're getting the money that they need to be paid for that work. But we're giving you the opportunity to engage with that and engage with more work by paying less. Hopefully, some people will also pay more. Pay what you feel is also sort of based on the idea that some people will pay £25 for a ticket that somebody might pay £2.50 for. I say we'll do that for at least the next couple of months. We're under a lot of pressure at the moment. I think you'll all be aware of the pressure that the arts system is under at the moment. Our Arts Council funding has been at standstill since 2010, which is the equivalent of a 46% cut if you take into account inflation. Our City Council funding was at a peak of £125,000 a year in 2012. Next year we'll receive £40,000, so that's an 80% real terms cut. That all equates to about £410,000 a year that we're sort of lacking in terms of our budget, which puts everything under a lot of pressure. But And I was going to sort of talk about something that we talked about last year. You know, we would love to be doing more in the community. We did some fantastic things with Queen Edith in, when was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago? With Hunter Darton, with the dog show, and what else did we do? We did the television show at Skip Day. Jungle Sale.
Cake baking.
What was it called?
Yeah.
Yes, that was. Hunter Darton, lovely. I'd love to do more of that, but the funding didn't continue from the City Council to allow us to do that. We talked last year about coming to do the activities at the half-term, the holiday activity and food session. I couldn't find the budget for that at that point, and that really hurt. You know, we had a very honest, a frank exchange where we were agreeing loudly. I'd love us to be doing more work like that. I think it's incredibly important for us to do more work like that. It's great that you are all super engaged and you're all coming very regularly, but I know there are lots of people in the community, you know, just talking to Anthony about this, lots of people in Coleridge who don't really know and probably in Queen and Edith as well, who don't know that the Junction does what the Junction does, who don't think it's for them, who think we're not accessible, or we're not welcoming, or we're exclusive in some way. And we want to break that down all the time, and to do that we need to be taking steps towards you as a community, and to people as a community, and being outside of the building to do that. And I think it's great, Anthony's saying, let's do the local history night at our place to get people into the building, but we also have to go the other way as well. And I will keep trying to find ways to find the funding to do that for sure.
And we can help you with funding to do that as well.
That'd be really exciting.
Yeah.
One of the ways I'm thinking about that at the moment, I'm also a co-lead at the moment on the development of the new cultural compact for the city. For those of you who don't know, a cultural compact is a way for a group of people, cultural organisations, organisations outside of the cultural sector to come together to say we believe in culture and its importance in the city. And if we do that in Cambridge, that means working with the universities, it means working with the City Council, other partners, the BID, for instance, the BID, and working out ways that we can be really creative in forging new partnerships, working collaboratively, finding new ways to distribute the wealth that exists in the city to support the culture that we know really deserves that investment. And for me, that's also about how we embed culture in a way in the city which ensures that if there is growth in the city, and I know this is one of the things that there was a lot of anxiety about, right, justifiable anxiety about, that if we embed culture, that we have much more of a chance for that growth to be sustainable and to be really mindful of the things that everybody in the city really wants and needs for Cambridge. Some of this sounds like a bit of a hustings. I'm not standing for election. But I think it's really important for us all to understand that we are all part of the same ecosystem. I think, you know, the ethics of this group, the politics of the small c of this group, the energy and the desire for change that I hear expressed in everything that you're saying today is like very much aligned with what we hope for as well. And for us, I suppose it's also like we're talking about community. One of the things we all need at the moment is joy in our lives, and more joy. And you know, I say I'm really interested in a joy that isn't a sort of jazz hands joy necessarily, but a joy that can be inclusive of protest and anger and grief and sadness and all the things that we have been navigating as communities over some really, really difficult times over the last few years. In a cost of living crisis where the food bank is such an important part of the role of this community. In a situation where we are plugging gaps in social provision, you know, I think it's important that we find ways to express that through cultural activity, through telling stories with each other so we can understand each other better as people, how we include new arrivals to the city in those conversations as well. So, what else do I need to say? Some of you may have heard about our redevelopment. I know this has been something that has come up every now and then. We've had a bit of an exchange, Anthony and I. I'm hoping that we will find a way to achieve some of the ambitions that we have had for the redevelopment of the Junction previously. Some of you might know that we had appointed architects at the end of 2019, or selected, I should say, architects. The City Council was going to pay for a design process, which would have allowed us to then secure additional investment to do that. I'm saying this because it is just around the corner from you, and you will be affected when we do this. Chatham House rules. If I say anything I shouldn't do, you can leave on the documentation. But if I say anything I shouldn't do, just forget I said it. I think, the City Council paused that project and then cancelled it because I think they were uncertain about whether they wanted the Junction to be there, to be honest, or whether they wanted us somewhere else in the city. I mean, I think that was the thinking at one point, whether they wanted us to move somewhere else. That wasn't my idea. We are now having some interesting conversations with the developer, and the City Council have brokered that conversation. I think that developer is quite interesting. They've got a good reputation. They do understand the importance of culture. They are seeing us as being central to that conversation. We are having regular workshops. They have selected architects without me knowing. They selected architects which I'm actually quite excited by. They're good architects. Howard Tompkins, that's probably something I should say. But Howard Tompkins did the Young Vic, they did the Bridge Theatre, they did Bristol Old Vic recently. They designed the shed that was outside the front of the National Theatre for a while. They're exciting, I like them. So we could get something of architectural interest, which I know the Cambridge Leisure site is not renowned for.
That's a good diplomatic.
So I am really excited. I'm trying to, in lots of ways, I'm trying to rein in my excitement about the potential for that development.
Can I just ask a question on that? Will you be involved in the decision making? Usually, if they've appointed the architects, how much will you be involved in the decision making around what's being delivered? And this could be a personal conversation.
I'm being really difficult at the moment. Well, I'm saying I'm being very excited and giving all my input on what I think the development should look like. They're seeing those as stretch targets.
Okay.
Basically, they wanted a rebuild, but give us just what we had or have. I've said no, we need more, because since, if you know our history, since J2 was built, which I've discovered recently was originally called The Shed. Anthony will obviously know this, but it was called The Shed. When we absorbed the Cambridge Drama Centre, so that's why we're called Junction CDC, so we're Junction Cambridge Drama Centre. What was I saying? Yeah, population has increased 20% since 2005 when the shed opened. However we approach the growth of the city, it's likely to grow at least 20% over the next 15 to 25 years. Hopefully no more than that. And we know that we need spaces which are more adaptable, which are more flexible, which are slightly larger, which could be more significant in terms of the culture of the city. We also need additional spaces. We need more creative workspace. We need more space which is accessible to communities. We need better hospitality provision, by which I mean we need to give you food and drink. And that helps us because of the business model, because we make about £500,000 a year on the bar. That's not Chatham House rules, that's in our accounts. But I think all of this means we could have the potential to become an even more key part of the culture of this side of the city, accessible by foot, on foot, by bike, in the most sustainable way to the largest percentage of our audience. About 30-35% of our audience is from Cambridge, and then 30% from Cambridgeshire, about 30% from the rest of the region, which is an interesting point. So I am really excited about that development. It has real potential, but as you're saying, we need to work really hard. I think that like we all are trying to be hard and trying to be included in different ways in the planning decisions in the city, in plans for the city's development. We have to do that in microcosm on this project. We have to dig our heels in and provide as strong a vision as possible for what that needs to be. And so my role at the moment is about providing that vision. And also, I'm trying to be canny. I'm trying to connect the work that we're doing on the Cultural Compact and the thinking around that and what the priorities are around that with what our building development might be as well. Because I think that a new building could be an expression of that cultural strategy. Yeah. So community is super important. I'm always willing to be challenged. I'm always willing for people to say, why aren't you doing X? And then I'll tell you why. Or I won't. I'll say thank you very much for that suggestion, it's brilliant. And that happens a lot. I'm always really excited by conversations about the work, about the curation of the work, about the thematics of the work that we're presenting. This is a curated programme. The arts programme is very definitely curated to disrupt and to linger. So it's disruptive practice. It's work that changes how you see the world around you. It's work that disrupts us as a building. I love it when audiences disrupt us in positive ways. It's work that lingers in your heart and mind beyond your experience of that thing. It's how artists linger with us through residencies. So a lot of thought is going into this. And we want you all to be part of something.
Okay.
So that's my pitch.